Carl and Damon here from Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short. And it's They Made What into a TV series. You've seen the title, we're doing something a little bit different because airing this past month in October is a brand new video game adapted animated TV series on Netflix. Now, I've got a lot of trust in what Netflix are doing with their shows at the moment and the companies they're giving the funds to and stuff like that, based off, the oh-so-greatest animated TV series to date, Castle Frickin' Vania. So the idea of a Tomb Raider one called Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft certainly intrigued me. Of course, obviously based, I shouldn't need to tell you this, but let me just say it because hey, we have to. Based on the legendary Tomb Raider video game series by Crystal Dynamics. Have you ever heard of Tomb Raider, Damon? And have you ever played a Tomb Raider game?
Never heard of it. Never watched any films. Just a completely new game to me.
Well done. We should point out that we have actually in our They Made What into a movie series covered two Tomb Raider films already. We have done the what's it called? We've done the what we've done. We've done the
Cradle.
Angelina Jolie, the Angelina Jolie movies. We've not done the new
Yeah,
ones. We've not done the new ones, but we have done the Angelina Jolie ones, and they are entertaining films to say the least.
yeah.
Okay, but now things are going to get to confusing stages, mainly for you, but it is going to mean we've got a different point of view on this series that we need to discuss at the start because this series is set in the same continuity as the video game reboot trilogy that started in 2013 and takes place after the events of the 2018 game Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Basically, this series is going to fill in the gap in the timeline, bridging the reboot trilogy to the original series of games. So we have our reboot trilogy, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Then we have Tomb Raider from the PS1 and all the games that followed it. This series is sitting in between the two. So, going into it, I wonder how confused you were at first to be introduced to a Lara Croft who isn't quite the badass you know from the original games, the treasure hunter. She's young, she's a bit stupid, she's cocky, she makes mistakes, she's also more emotional. This is because this is the Lara Croft developed from the original, the reboot trilogy. And to make things harder for someone like you, because I'm doing this I know you haven't played this reboot trilogy.
Yeah.
To make it harder, they're referencing a lot of the stuff from the original, from the first Tomb Raider, of the reboot trilogy. They're referencing an island, the character of Jonah. All these characters, in fact, the majority of these characters, barring Zip, were all introduced in the Tomb Raider reboot.
It explains why I was confused for a lot of this show.
I do think it's a problem that you might. Thankfully, I think it'll ease out as we go along. But the first two episodes, I think I was like, I remember I was watching in my notes going, he's gonna be sitting there going, the fuck is going on? Where's our guns? Why is she not backflipping and shooting bears and wolves and shit? So
Yeah.
what's all this about an island and fucking spirits and things like that?
I mean, it does give me, I suppose, the obviously if we get more seasons, it does give me the get go to eventually play the games and then go back to the TV series and then maybe.
You are driving me nuts at the moment. Seriously, I don't want to reference other content, but it's like go play Dead Rising so we can talk about Dead Rising properly. There are three brilliant, not just good, brilliant Tomb Raider games released between 2013 and 2018. The Tomb Raider trilogy reboot that you could play without and they tell their own story. And they are fantastic games, all of them. And now they are obviously re-releasing all your old Tomb Raiders. So they did the remastered Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 from last year. This year they're doing 4, 5, and 6. You are overawed, and I know it's a lot of investment, and I know you got a lot of games to play, but you're driving me nuts, man, because we're doing Tomb Raider now, and you're like, well, I'll play those games eventually. Play them now while you're doing the series.
I think the last time I played Tomb Raider, I've got to realistically say I think it was a Sega Saturn.
Really? You must have played like Anniversary or Underworld or one of them.
I mean, I might have, but I can't remember.
Tomb Raider Anniversary was the sort of remake of the original Tomb Raider game that was on Xbox 360.
I mean, it just sounds like there's a lot of remakes of like the first one. It sounds like
No, no, no,
and
no, there isn't. There isn't. There's just remasterings and stuff like that. But the no,
yeah,
no, the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy is not a remake of the first game. It is a separate set of games set before. So think of it, it's just a prequels. They're prequels. Like,
okay,
you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So they're not like it's not they're not remaking they are they're in like in this series of Tomb Raider, like the chronological order. So you know, like if you were to start, there's Tomb Raider from back on the Sega Saturn and PlayStation 1, Tomb Raider.
yeah,
These three, the Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider don't go here. They go here. One, two,
okay, okay,
three.
yeah,
And then Tomb Raider. Basically, how Lara Croft became Lara Croft.
okay, yeah.
Now, this series is directly referencing the first of those Tomb Raider games. That's the one you should be fucking playing. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's referencing it so heavily. Craziness.
I'll just say I'll add it to my book of games that got to get to.
Because you know, she obviously quite heavily to begin with. It's quite based upon a character called Conrad Roth and his death, right?
Yep.
He dies in the first of those games. The death you see with him getting an axe to the back is literally what happens in that game. Anyway, right. So, yes, this is going to be an interesting talk thing because I am seeing it with all my knowledge and you are seeing it with all your lack of knowledge. And I guess that'll bring us together to sort of see how enjoyable it is from two perspectives. E.g., yours, could you watch this without really knowing those stories? And
Yeah.
mine, knowing those stories. How does it work? So, Tasha Hughes served as showrunner with Legendary Television and DJ2 Entertainment producing, animated by Powerhouse Animation Studios. Let's talk about the animation overall. What do you think?
So I actually thought it was really good. I compared it to like the likes of Castlevania, but not as good as Castlevania. But I thought it was. I was impressed with it. You know.
I like it too. There are moments where I'm a little bit iffy. I'm not 100% in love with the character look sometimes.
Mm.
I think they look a little bit weirdly like disproportionate in size and style and stuff like that. But like I like a lot of the lighting, I like a lot of the background drawing. Sometimes I think it looks almost like hand painted stuff that I think is
Yeah.
really pretty. It is different to Castlevania, but also it's quite similar to Castlevania in certain ways too, as well.
Mm.
I like it. You know, we are going to be talking about episode one here. So kind of like big sort of moments and things like that we'll kind of get into. It's the characters that I'm not entirely sold about, you know?
Mm.
So the series premiered on October 10th, 2024, and was renewed for a second season that same month. So we will get a second season. Good, good.
Yeah.
Netflix, give your money into the good shows. Right, voice actors. So we're going to focus on the major people here. And an incredible star and role, Hayley Atwell as Lara Croft.
Mm.
Great fucking actor and great choice of voices for this character.
Yeah.
That
The
is
voice
a
is
Lara Croft.
yeah. Her voice is what I picture for like a Lara Croft. Yes, I like the voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Maggie Loder's young Lara. And then we've got Alan Maldonado as Zip. Now, Zip is a new character for the show, but reprising his role from the game and with the same voice actor from the game is Earl Balon. So fantastic for him. And
Yeah.
everybody loves Jonah. We all love him from the games. But the one to put a smile on your Castlevania faces, we have a baddie or a perceived baddie in this show called Charles Devereaux. And the man voicing him is only Richard Armitage, which for you Castlevania fans will recognize as Trevor Belmont.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Indeed. Excellent.
Zoe Ball as Camilla Roth, Roxana Ortega as Abby Ortiz, and obviously a legendary video game voice actor Nolan North as Conrad Roth. So that's our major voice cast. All right. Episode one of season one. And I get to say season one now. Yay. A Single Step, directed by Cassie Urban and written by Tasha Huo. So we begin with Lara Croft being chased by some dangerous-looking men who are trying to kill her. She arrives at some sort of ancient ruins or like a massive wall, almost like a mountain with symbols on it, and she's able to escape them by leaping over a large drop. So shows someone those Lara Croftian skills straight away. She then kind of scales the outer wall, eventually arriving at the top to find the temple she calls the House of the Jaguar. She then contacts her mentor, Conrad Roth, and he says that he'll meet her there. As she goes in, she discovers many dangers and gets herself into bother a few times. And this is where I clocked that, oh, this is still the kind of younger Laura. She's like, oh, there'll be this trap and that trap, but she ends up making a mistake and misreading a situation.
Yeah.
After making her way through many hazards, including a beastly alligator, she arrives in a big chamber. And it turns out that she's in Chile and had come here as Roth wanted to find a specific treasure. So she'd come to Chile kind of like, because she'd mentioned she's still in school, still in university. Roth had sort of suggested she take a detour to visit this area. It just so happens what she's looking for is an ancient artifact box that looks Chinese, which is an odd thing to find in Chile. Roth now arrives and they celebrate, speaking of Lara's dad, Richard, who had sought the box before he died. So, you know, that's a familiar Tomb Raider, obviously, story that Richard Croft, the famed treasure hunter, had died, and Lara has always struggled to live up to his name / fit into his shoes.
Yep.
Legend says that anyone who touches the box becomes instantly wealthy. So Roth tests it, checking at the box. But Lara starts to notice the carvings around them and gets a little concerned by them and says to Roth that maybe we shouldn't take it. But he's kind of like, no, we're taking this thing. And he points out to her that just carvings, that she shouldn't believe all the hocus pocus nonsense around stuff like that. And I was like, so this is this specific thing, right? This specific event is before the first game. And I don't mean the first Tomb Raider PS1 game. I mean the first in the reboot trilogy. Because this is a Lara Croft who did not experience the events of that island, because you would not be so dismissive of hocus pocus stuff. Tomb Raider has always had a supernatural edge. And the reboot trilogy continues that. So if this is happening before those events.
So yeah, that explains, because literally the first for 5 minutes, I was already a bit like, okay, so because originally I thought, okay, this is like the fully fledged trained Lara Croft. I didn't consider the age or anything like that until they mentioned about the school, and I thought, okay, well, perhaps it's like starting from the beginning. I actually thought this might have been way before all the games and that sort of stuff.
Well, this part is. This opening is before anything. This is actually the earliest point in a Tomb Raider timeline, it seems, because it's even before the reboot trilogy, because Roth is still alive, he hasn't been killed, and Lara hasn't ended up on the island where, you know, crazy shit happens.
Yeah.
On their way out, they laugh about her time in Chile, but walk face first into the group that was chasing her before. Held at gunpoint, the leader orders them to leave the box behind, claiming it will only cause death and destruction. Oh, this is some good Tomb Raider stuff. Lara wonders, maybe they're protectors, but inevitably they end up in a fight and manage to survive. Although we get those. This is similar to what Lara goes through in the first of the reboot games. She really struggles. She's traumatized by Roth killing that man. Now, this is a major part of it, because Roth gives her advice about survival. No matter what. Survive no matter what. Which is a mantra that's repeated in the first reboot game. It's about surviving no matter what. So, like what Lara has to do in that game involving killing people, it's about survival. And I realize all of this is lost on you. So it's like, it's funny because I'm going, okay, this all ties in. And I'm picturing the scene where Lara kills her first ever human person, like kills someone who's attacking her and going to sexually assault her. Yeah. And it's the first time she ever kills a man, a person. And she's kind of traumatized by it afterwards. By the end of the game, you know what I mean? But like that first early point is quite a moment for her. Right, so that's our opening as we now get the title card and cut to 3 years later, now after the reboot game. Lara is in a street fight in Peru. Right, did you not get some Street
Yeah,
Fighter vibes there?
yeah, proper. Yeah.
She gets into a fight that she wins, but she then gets drunk with her opponent afterwards. As you do, it turns out they're friends, and it's just a friendly little fight.
Mm.
It's now revealed that it's Christmas, and I was like, "Oh, don't do a Christmas episode," but it's not really. It's just the time of year.
Yeah.
And she gets a call from Jonah. She's not been home for 6 months. She's going off the rails, it seems, and is running from her life, basically. Jonah tries to talk to her about moving forward and working with him to get better, but she refuses. She then watches a woman do a ritual that involves her burning her dead husband's things to move forward and find out who she is without him. And that sort of gives Laura an idea, kind of seeing that idea of doing a ritual to kind of burn your past to
Mm.
find a way to move forward. So we then cut to her returning home to Croft Manor, which is now abandoned and empty kind of thing. She sets about moving the old artifacts and items into the hallway, but stops when she sees the box and flashes back to when Roth died while looking at a picture of basically the team that went to the island. You know, the team that went to the island, video game players? That's who she's looking at. But obviously, we see a moment where Roth died. He died protecting Lara on the island. And that's obviously a guilt thing. It established a guilt thing here.
Yeah.
But she's now disturbed by the arrival of her friend Zip and Jonah. They came because she triggered alarms. Because obviously, a house like this, with this many artifacts in, probably would be alarmed that they've been keeping an eye on the place while she's been away. She reveals to them she's planning to burn the house down and everything inside. So quickly established that Zip is going to be our comic relief. I like the voice actor. Not entirely sure I need a comedy guy, but I'll hold my judgment till the series is over.
And obviously, my knowledge of the games is pretty much zero, but this is a new character, yeah?
Yeah, Zip's not in the games.
Oh, okay, that's it, yeah.
They agree to help her, but it's more of a figure of burning down, and instead they set up an auction to sell off all the possessions in her family's manor. As Jonah leaves, she asks about Sam, who apparently didn't want to come. Damon, Sam was on the island. Hate to break it to you again. There's basically issues from their time on the island.
I kind of got that most of these people are going to be from this island. Yeah.
But did you when she's flashing back and there's a scene like where Sam's like holding like her hand and she's getting bled? Did you not think, where is this flashback from? What are we like? Did you think we'd missed a series or an episode or something?
I was kind of hoping that maybe further down the line that there might have been an episode and go, okay, she's having a memory from that one there, but
yeah, afraid not. So Lara goes to sleep and continues to have nightmares about Roth's death, which Jocelyn Reyes, remember Reyes, everybody blamed her for, while Sam stayed at her side. We now cut to the auction, and Lara doesn't enjoy the stuffiness of the event and refuses to give a speech at the auction. Her in this dress and playing cards. How much did you get of the kind of Angelina Jolie's Lara Croft, right? Because there's a bit where they do that kind of stuff where she's in a nice dress, but she's really doesn't want to be there. Like, I felt that vibe.
It's like the proper awkward sort of like she wants to be adventuring, not really. Yeah,
she doesn't fit with the upper crust, the upper class of society.
Yeah.
She does meet an elderly man, though, who also seems to be unimpressed with it and speaks about the treasure and what she is doing. This, we will later learn, is Charles Devereaux. He seems to know a lot about her as well before walking away, leaving her confused. Anyway, she starts to sneak away because she's basically not going to give a speech. Zip's trying to make her give a speech to the patrons, but she's got no interest in doing it, the pressure and all of that. She ends up sneaking away. But in the process, while kind of hiding away, she comes across and sees a masked person sneaking inside the manor. So she follows them and catches them stealing a treasure, but not just any treasure, the artifact box that she initially, from the opening, had stolen or taken from the temple with Roth. Obviously, wanting to know why they're trying to steal it, she gives chase. But he ends up getting away. It's a good little chase sequence through a town, down towards it, but this person gets away on a boat, and while driving away, removes the mask, revealing that it's Charles Devereaux. Wow, so he stole it. Wonder why. What's so important about a box? Well, that has got Lara's attention, and afterwards in the house, she speaks to Zip about it. Lara then goes to her father's secret study / artifact room, where she finds his diary, and in that, here she reads it, and we hear Richard's voice speaking about the box. And Lara sees how he feared its power. So he seems to talk about this box with a certain level of dread, a certain level that
Yeah,
it could be a problem.
yeah,
And upstairs, well, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Upstairs, Jonah arrives and scares Zip before Lara comes in and reveals that actually there are two boxes, and the other is supposedly in China. Apparently, her and her father and Roth had planned to find it one day, and Lara is planning to go after it. Jonah is against all this and tries to talk her out of it. Basically, what are you doing? Just let this go. It's just a box. Let it go. Let that part of your life go.
Yep.
But she insists that she's going after the boxes. And on her way out, she tells Jonah that she doesn't need his help. He confides in Zip that he's worried about who she's become after leaving the island. They are then disturbed by a localized storm that sends a bolt of lightning crashing into the roof of the house, and then heavy rain starts. And Zips and Jonah are rightfully like, well, this doesn't seem quite normal. And obviously it's not. As we cut to Charles opening the box and finding a trinket inside that starts to glow. When he touches it, he seems to be consumed by it. His eyes glow green, and he seems to have a power to control people as he sort of stops a young man on a boat and orders him to kill the captain. But just before the young man does it, Charles kind of snaps out of it himself and then tells the young man to not do, like, stop doing that and go about your business.
Yeah.
So he seems to snap himself out. Now that suggested to me that Charles Devereux may not be necessarily a villain. I kind of got a bit, maybe he's more like Daniel Craig's character from the, remember he's a treasure hunter as well.
Oh,
Not a
yeah,
bad guy, not a good guy.
yeah. So like the trick is like a possession thing, sort of thing.
Possibly, or
Yeah,
at least it makes you feel power like you are.
yeah,
I'm not sure. We're going to get that much on to be going long. Finally, the captain reveals to Charles that they're almost at the village as a storm kicks up that the captain calls strange. And Charles tells him it's not a storm, it's the dawn of a new era, and that chaos is coming as his eyes glow green. So that's our opening Tomb Raider episode, the Legend of Lara Croft episode. A single step. A lot of setup here. A lot of setup and a lot of confusion. Confusion depending upon your angle. I'm amazed you were able to follow it. Were you able to follow it?
No. I mean, there's a lot which I didn't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed parts of it. Obviously, I enjoyed the voice actors, the animation. I enjoyed the story, but there was a lot being talked about which I had no idea. So for me personally, watching it, if this was my first introduction to Tomb Raider, well, it basically is for me, pretty much, yeah. But it would completely throw me off.
Do you think if you weren't doing it for this, if you weren't doing it for this series that we do on YouTube, do you think you'd have continued watching it, or you'd have thought, nah, this isn't going to be for me?
I think I would have definitely given the second episode a go,
Mm-hmm.
and then after, if I had felt the same sort of like I've got no idea what's going on, then I would have probably stopped it, and then maybe obviously joining games, I probably would have done a bit of research. I mean, normally I do a bit of research beforehand, but I thought I'd leave it this time because I knew we were going to do the videos.
Right. You probably could have done with a little bit of research then, eh?
Yeah.
Just, you know what you need to do? You don't even know watch videos. Go read the fucking plots and not plot stories
Yeah, yeah.
for the reboot trilogy. It'll read those plot stories and then you'll get an outline of what the hell's going on here. It'll help. I know in the games, find it a little distracting. I think they banked heavily, and it's odd, but they banked heavily on people playing those games or playing the first game as well. They've tried clearly to tell it in a way that it may not be 100% necessary, but man, it'll make a whole lot freaking more sense if you do. Now, I do
Yeah.
think the idea, if you've gone into going, I'm going to watch Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft, and I don't know these original trilogy or I don't know the Tomb Raider games, it's a weird decision. Like, I feel like this, similar to Castlevania, similar to a lot of it, you're watching this because you're a fan, because you know this stuff. You people like you are the oddities who generally are going in almost blind,
Yeah.
which is unusual. I think this is a bit of a dumb episode though. Like, it's a lot. There's a lot dumped us here. And I think maybe they could slow it down a little bit, but it feels like, okay, we've only got 8 episodes to get through. And the first episode's about 35 minutes long, whereas
Yeah,
every other episode afterwards is about 24, 25. So it sort of says, okay, they haven't got a huge run here, so they're trying to do a lot of information. I am intrigued by 2 things. One, the adventure, which is quite important. The Lara Croft adventure. I like the idea. Okay, we're going to do some globe spanning, collecting some boxes that are going to give us some magical items, and there's going to be a bad guy who wants, all of that stuff's going to work for me. But I am
yeah,
just as excited to sort of see the growth. I hope they do it well. The growth of Lara Croft here, because I am intrigued still seeing this younger Lara and not connecting this up to the badass Lara that we would see. Do it in movie terms. The badass Lara that we would see in Angelina Jolie. That Lara Croft is the
yeah,
Lara Croft from the original Tomb Raider games. We are
yeah.
seeing a Lara Croft way before that.
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, every bit of Tomb Raider I've seen, like the film wise, it's always been she's straight into the badass role.
Yeah.
There's no like explaining her story. There's no So and obviously, I did enjoy that aspect, the fact that obviously we're getting a more detailed Lara Croft.
We hopefully will be. Yeah, we hopefully will
Yeah.
be. I should point out as well that there is other Tomb Raider movies that actually do a similar things to this show, that they basically follow the reboot trilogy and go back to Lara as a younger person. So we will have to cover them in the future. But for now, that is season 1, episode 1, a single step of the Tomb Raider animated TV show on Netflix. What do you reckon? What's your angle? Which direction are you coming from this? Let us know your thoughts on it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news, and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.